I promise you, that is the scaredest feeling I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
I was literally afraid. You are listening to Saints in the South. All right, welcome everyone. This is season 2, episode 96. We are Saints in the South, representing saints everywhere, and we are your source for gospel growth and good times. Whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, go ahead and hit those subscribe buttons. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Saints in the South. And then you can check us out on our website, saintsinthesouth.com. So this week, we are in sections 129 to 132. When we obtain any blessing from God, it is by obedience. So here we are. So we still hanging out in Nauvoo, Andrew?
Hanging out in Nauvoo. Joseph escaped Missouri, and actually 5 years to the date before he dies, he gathers his apostles. And Wilford Woodruff has in this journal of some keys. He drew out some keys. And anyway, Joseph is relating an experience he had with Michael a decade before, on the Susquehanna River.
Yeah.
So he's explaining to these apostles some anyways, we'll learn about it. These little keys that Wilford Woodruff drew out. So yeah. So again, he's in hiding. But the apostles knew where he was at, so he wouldn't hide too hard.
Right.
But again, he's in Nauvoo, just kind of going house to house and
keep the kingdom moving forward.
Yeah, that's right.
So how does he get into talking about the two different types of beings between angels and spirits?
So some say that Joseph, he knew he was a wanted man,
right? So
things had to move forward. So he's revealing all this. He had this cool experience with Michael on the Susquehanna River.
And nobody really knows the details of it. They just know that Michael, somehow the devil appeared to Michael, or Satan appeared to Michael, the archangel, or Michael, which was also Adam. He appeared to him on the banks of the Susquehanna, and Michael discerned him as Satan. He appeared to him as an angel of light, but Michael discerned him as Satan. But that's all it says. We don't know. I've tried to look it up. Believe me, I went back. I saw that's a cool thing. What happened? And even Raphael, he mentions the angel Raphael. We don't know who that is. We're not sure about that either. So Joseph had many heavenly messengers come to him throughout his life. And me and Andrew was talking earlier. I'm sure he had to figure. I'm sure the devil was. Do we remember Hiram Page with the seer stone? Right. Wasn't it Hiram Page?
Yeah.
And he was deceived by an angel of light. He was deceived by the devil, where it was the devil personally or one of his followers. And so he believed it. He thought, wow, maybe this is real. Korihor in the Book of Mormon, right? Was it Korihor? He was deceived by an angel of light. He said it was an angel of light. The devil disguised himself as an angel of light, and I fell for it. It can make you almost feel sorry for these people because, man, that's got to be a pretty good manifestation for it to look like an angel of light. So I'm sure Joseph Smith was visited many times by Satan and his followers to be as an angel of light, to deceive him and to mess up and disrupt the plan, disrupt the restoration. And so I'm sure Joseph had to receive some kind of instruction, even though there's not, me and Andrew was talking about this earlier, there's not really a lot of recorded history about him offering his hand or trying to discern this spirit from that spirit, but I'm sure he had to.
Right.
I got this feeling as I read section 129 that he's done this a lot, probably.
Right, exactly. Again, this is the restoration of the gospel, and I'm sure Satan is doing everything he can to stay on it and derail it and everything. So
there are the three things. One is the resurrected personage, which is a glorified, resurrected person, already resurrected. For example, Peter, James. When they came to him, they're resurrected. John the Baptist was resurrected being. They have bodies of flesh and bone, and they're perfect. They're resurrected. And so if he offered his hand to them, that he would feel it. It'd be a person, right? A glorified person. not to make it sound like they're the same thing. They're not. I mean, we're mortal. We're not perfect. So glorified, perfect being. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a righteous spirit. When it appears to him to deliver a message, he can offer his hand. That spirit will not offer his hand because he is not there to deceive. In other words, Joseph could say, can you offer? I don't know how it does. We don't have any recorded, but if he offers his hand, that spirit will stand still and deliver his righteous message. Because he is not there to deceive. He's not going to do that. Now, evil spirit, if it's Satan trying to appear as an angel of light, because we remember Satan was an angel of light. He's Heavenly Father's child. He was up in high authority in the presence of God before he fell. He knows a lot. He knows plenty to deceive and really disrupt. And he's very good at it. And so, but there's a thing, as we read here in 129, if it be the devil as an angel of light, when you ask him to shake hands with you, he will offer you his hand, and you will not feel anything. You may therefore detect him. Satan doesn't have a body, right? So if it's Satan or one of his angels that don't have bodies that were thrust out of heaven, when they offer their hand, you won't feel it, right? Because they want to deceive you and pretend that, yes, I am like this. And so the question is this, and it's the same question I had, and I found it. Some may wonder why the devil or one of his agents would offer his hand, knowing that doing so would reveal his true identity. Right. Part of the answer may be found in the prophet Joseph Smith's teaching that wicked spirits have their bounds, limits, and laws which they are governed. Those who understand the laws that govern angels and spirits can discern true messengers sent from God from false spirits seeking to deceive. So they have to offer their hand when you ask it. An evil spirit does.
Right. I wonder if they could just kind of like play it off like this right here.
It's like, yeah, man.
What's up?
Yeah. It's like, oh, you didn't feel it. Maybe we didn't hit hard enough. Sorry. No, but so that's it's interesting that this is put in there, but I think Joseph just wanted to know, and maybe it was comfort to know too, that, hey, Joseph probably isn't getting deceived here. It sounds like he knows what he's doing. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially after the Hiram Page incident, and that kind of thing, and reading in the Book of Mormon about how Korihor was tricked and things. And so now, I mean, I think there's other ways. I don't think the Lord would just have us continuously, we would probably, I don't know.
I think the feeling, I'm thinking of if an evil spirit so I had the, I don't know if I've shared this before. If I have, it's been a long time. Just real quick, serving on my mission, first area, and in there in the bed going to sleep, and the darkest, most scariest feeling come over me. And I ended up looking up, and I saw, and I will never forget it, but I saw the outline of a black outline of an individual. And that, I promise you, that is the scariest feeling I've ever had in my life. I was literally afraid. And the only thing I thought of was Moses, pearl of great price, and command that spirit to depart in the name of Jesus Christ. And that's exactly what I did. And when I did that, it left, and the feeling of comfort and everything returned. But that is the scariest I've ever been in my life. And so,
I mean, look, Satan's real. And even in 130, section 130, he continues on. There's just a lot of things I think that he wanted to, I don't know,
kind of get off his chest, get out there and stuff.
I mean, he's had a lot of experiences.
He has
experiences. Yeah.
And I mean, this is a decade later. So the question is, out of all the things that Joseph Smith taught, again, you got the blue book.
Yeah.
Why is in here?
Yeah.
It's good information.
And it's good information. It's good information. Yeah. I think it is.
I forgot about it. I'll be honest. I remember as a young man
hearing about it.
I was like, oh, wow. But I haven't really thought much about it since.
I'd forgot that it's actually in the Doctrine and Covenants. I really did. I knew that it was out there. I knew that instruction was out there. I've heard of it and stuff. I thought it was in another book, and it was or whatever, but it's actually in the Doctrine and Covenants, some of these things. Section 130 is very interesting as well. A lot of different subjects, a lot of different things, from the second coming, knowing when that could be, all the way to things that were given in Revelation. I'm just going to say this. Joseph Smith knew so much that there's no way that we would have been ready for what he knew. And or we, and when I say we, are those people that were around him at the time, even today. I mean, the things that are revealed here in section 130 are like, wow, that's some really interesting, specific stuff, man. It's like, I've never even thought about that far. And he knew this as if it was, he knew when, whatever. So
I like verse 15. Evidently, Joseph been trying to figure out when the exact date of when Christ was going to return,
right?
And everything. And so, verse 15, Joseph, my son, if thou livest until thou art 85 years old, thou shalt see the face of the Son of Man. Therefore, let this suffice and trouble me no more on this matter.
Yeah.
So he says, look, if you and the Lord can say this because he knows he's not gonna live until he's 85, right?
Right.
So he says, but look, don't worry about it and don't bother me with it anymore.
Yeah.
We've got we've got greater things to worry about. That's right.
And
that's not gonna be your concern.
Before that, it talks about how the world, this earth, will become a Urim and Thummim,
right?
The celestialized. This world is a living, breathing thing. It's a I don't want to say breathing, but it's a living thing. It's something that the Lord created. Everything the Lord created will be exalted, or whatever you want to call it. Nothing was made to be temporary that the Lord makes. He doesn't just fiddle with things, and everything is eternal that he does. And so the earth is obviously, this globe will become celestialized. It'll become almost, they say, as like a sea of glass type thing. I can't describe it because I've never seen it, but anyway, but it'll be like a huge Urim and Thummim. And I'll just read so you don't think I'm making it up, but it sounds like it says this: the book of Revelation in the New Testament is a record of the Lord's revelation to the Apostle John. It says the Lord promised great blessings, including a crown of exaltation and eternal life to those who overcome wickedness of the world. The revelation also teaches that that each person who overcometh the world will each be given a white stone. Okay. And it says that in the Doctrine and Covenants 130, each will be given a white stone. In his teachings recorded in the Doctrine and Covenants, the prophet Joseph Smith explained that each white stone will function as a personal Urim and Thummim. Okay. Whereas the celestial earth will reveal all things pertaining to an inferior kingdom, or all kingdoms of a lower order. The white stone will reveal things pertaining to a higher order of kingdoms. So we'll be on this celestialized Urim and Thummim that we can see lower kingdoms, right? We can see anything happening in inferior kingdoms, lower kingdoms through the earth. But anything we want to see higher than that will be through that white personal stone that we're given. Very crazy. Just is like, wow, what?
Wow,
and
we're getting in there.
Man, it's in, and the thing is like, oh, well, he just made that up. Man, it's in Revelation. Where do you start with the makeup thing? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's right there in Revelation. He just clarifies it.
Wow.
He's like, this is what it is. But it's so interesting to me, those types of things,
18 and 19, I've always really enjoyed whatever principle of intelligence we attain into this life, it will rise with us in the resurrection. And then if a person gains more knowledge and intelligence in this life through his diligence and obedience than another, he will have so much the advantage in the world to come.
Right.
Which is very, very interesting.
I love that.
Obtaining as much information. It's just a testament to everything kind of rising with we continue to be who we are from this life into the next life. So I hope they got a workout facility.
Yeah, and like you said, Orson Hyde too was one of the ones that he corrected.
Yeah, so,
and Orson Hyde was like, "Hey, I accept. Tell me what I need to know better." Talking about flesh and bone, dwell in our hearts and stuff. Jesus and God will dwell in our hearts. He said that's a kind of his false tradition, that it's not that they actually dwell in your heart. That they're personages. They can't be in your heart. What I'm saying? They're people. So he was saying that's sort of an old wives' or old false tradition. That's
And we gotta remember, these guys are brand new in the gospel. They had past traditions with their
yeah.
And Joseph Smith, they were in Ramos, Illinois, at a state conference, and they went to go dine with so he went to go afterwards. Joseph's sister lived there.
Yep.
And I thought it was interesting how Joseph just did super correct them at the moment and embarrass them.
Yeah, I know.
While they were eating, kind of
like later on after the sermon.
So, hey man,
can I tell you a couple things that you got wrong that I need to help you with? And he's like, I absolutely would love for you to do that. That's the way Orson Hyde was, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
And that was good. You know, I actually learned from that, you know, with today, you know, with your callings and all. Someone says something, you don't sometimes, you know, embarrassing from front of others might not be the right thing to do. Let's just one-on-one or as you're eating lunch or
and it's not sometimes in Sunday school I will refrain.
That's the toughest job in the world. In public, you have to. I remember being a Sunday school teacher.
Yeah,
you'd kind of be like, well, maybe not exactly that way. You know, somebody will say something, you're like, well, that's probably, you know, I could see how you could get that from that, but actually, you know, you have to sort of, exactly. You have to really,
and then also
you're wrong.
Also, if you're sitting in the crowd and the Sunday school the teacher starts saying something that's not exactly right.
Oh, that's even harder because you're like, oh, this guy was called to do this. Do I let it ride and let this false information linger?
Right.
Or do I go ahead and say, and there's tactful ways to do it. I think it's all in the delivery. Because truth is truth and it needs to be out there. So I would suggest that it does need to be, but read the situation, know the person. If it's a person that takes high offense, maybe not. Let's hold off and maybe correct it on the next go round. Maybe they could put out a disclaimer or something.
Afterwards.
But yeah, that's a tough situation. But we have to make sure things are taught right, you know.
That's right.
And we honestly, we want to do that here in the podcast. Believe me, we're not scholars. I'm not a scholar. I try to get a lot of my stuff. I don't look anywhere except for church material. I try to find everything that's actual, you know, institute manuals, you know, whatever things that are put out by the apostles, the prophets. And so, but if there's something, and I do a lot of times get wrong, we want to make sure that we're caught on that. And we want to get it out right. So, So that's why we have Rick Long out there.
That's right. That's right. So sections 131 and then 132 here.
Yes.
What y'all got on that?
I feel like with these sections, we just need to preface this. We're talking about two things here. We're talking about celestial marriage and we're talking about plural marriage. They're not the same thing.
Right.
You don't need plural marriage to get exaltation.
Right.
You only need to be married to one person, right? To one spouse to get to exaltation, the highest degree. You don't have to be married plural marriage to get there. Because sometimes I think people can read this and go, wait a minute. So that means we have to practice polygamy to be able to get exaltation? No, you don't. You do not. As a matter of fact, Heber J. Grant said this. He said, celestial marriage does not imply plural marriage. Celestial marriage, that is marriage for time and eternity, and polygamous or plural marriage are not synonymous terms. I can't say that. Monogamous marriages for time and eternity. Solemn, man, Heber J, you got some big words here. Weren't made for saints in the South. Monogamous marriages for time and eternity, solemnized in our temples in accordance with the word of the Lord and the laws of the church, are celestial marriages. Plural marriage, Bruce R. McConkie said, it's not essential for salvation and exaltation. And we do read in the Doctrine and Covenants that Nephi and his people were denied the power to have more than one wife, and yet they could gain every blessing in eternity that the Lord ever offered to any people. And so it's true. You only have to be married to one person, sealed for time and all eternity, to gain exaltation, period. You don't have to be in plural marriages. But the Lord did institute plural marriage. I mean, that is a real thing all the way back to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. They all had numerous, David, Solomon, and this is one of them touchy subjects. It's like, well, why, that I could, I don't know.
It's one of those topics that I choose not to really
dwell upon.
Yeah. I don't worry about it.
Right. Right. And you're going to hear,
tell my wife not to worry about it.
You're going to hear all those people say, well,
I have no idea what the outcome is going to be. If I have no idea.
Yeah.
So
I don't look at it. I just look at it as a thing that's not necessary. It's not instituted today.
Right.
It's not something that we practice, nor condone today. There's a lot of people that are branched off from our church, are fundamentalists and RLDS and things like that, or what are they called? Reorganized Latter-day Saint churches. And that some of those people out there, they do the polygamy and stuff and plural wives, but we do not. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints does not practice that today.
Right. So reorganized, they never did.
Right. Or
And
whoever.
that's the reason why there was that conference.
That was the reason they broke off in the first place, because they said they didn't want to do it.
Because they said Brigham Young was the one that started. So let's
okay,
correct. They're the ones that never did.
Never wanted to. That's the reason they broke off.
Yeah, they broke off. It was it's the fundamentalists.
Fundamentalists,
you know, after the John Taylor.
Right.
You know, John Taylor. After him, it was Wilford Woodruff. After the manifesto.
Yeah, it said
you had a group that didn't.
Didn't agree with that.
Yeah, didn't agree, because that's part of the reason.
Yeah, because they ended it. What was it?
1898
1898 was when it was ended. Like no more.
And there was and there's
And honestly, the answer for me, I mean, for me to give an answer is like, why did it happen? There's several different reasons, but it's because the Lord said to do it, and it was for just a specific group. It wasn't for every single man in the church. It wasn't for that, or every single woman in the church. It really wasn't at the time. It was for certain ones that they asked to do it, that were righteous enough to do it.
Yeah, we learned about old Bennett in the last one.
John C. Bennett.
Yeah,
he obviously had lustful
yeah.
desires, and he used it in the wrong way.
And it's a deep subject. Brian Hales, he's I would have to say, you know, he's got some books on it. He's very well versed in it. And it's just you know, you got the dueling cousins. You got old Joseph F. Smith, and then you got old Joseph Smith the third. You know, Joseph F. Smith was the son of Hiram,
right?
And you got old Joseph Smith the third,
son
of Joseph and Emma. And Joseph Smith third, his mama told him that your dad never did do it. You know, there was that. So they met up. Cool. It's cool to say they're cousins. That's I mean, like, you know.
Right.
And he went out west, and you know, to this day, some believe that Joseph Smith never did. You know, there's no
even though we also have record showing the other, though, right?
Yeah. He actually did. Emma,
but there's a lot of records too.
Right.
Emma, you would think Emma would be the first one to say that he did. And she said to her deathbed that he never did, you know. So,
well, no, I don't know. Where'd you get that from?
Emma Smith never.
I've got it. It's in the student manual.
Emma Smith told everybody that Joseph Smith never. It's just coming from. I'm just saying, I never get.
No, but
that's why Joseph Smith third went to go Utah to go ask, because he heard about it. Yeah,
I don't know why she said that, because she said that she had a very hard time with it. Because of all the, you know, it's in a good story.
She had a tough time, but then after they left, she denied that he ever practiced.
Oh, so she just did that to
she
say
denied
that.
It,
but it did happen though, obviously. But
I think both can. I think both can be true.
But both could be true, because these accounts are coming from the Brigham Young. Stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, she denied. I guess she just decided to deny it.
Yeah, she had a hard time with it. I mean, she had a hard time with the Fanny Alger and Kirtland. And this and that, but
it says
these are secondhand accounts. Again,
right.
They're coming from because at the same time we have no known descendants of Joseph Smith with any plural wife other than Emma.
Right.
That's
a fact.
That's a fact as of right now. Not saying that it didn't happen, but they went around.
Yeah.
Isn't that true? Have you ever heard of a descendant from anyone else?
No, I have.
I haven't really heard. No, I haven't really looked into it. But
Emma Smith didn't like it. That's
she absolutely. She had a time with it, but she said this was a recorded document she gave to and that's one of the cool things about that whole 132 is that it really shows how hard it was for some of these women. You know, to have to go through this and to really, they had to have the what was it called, the gift of, what was it, Sarah, the one that, you know, she accepted Abraham having wives, and she had to have that gift put upon her to be able to accept it and acknowledge it and to allow it and to go with it. One thing I do want to make mention, going back to that agency that we've talked about before, these women had the right to say no if they didn't want to do it. They could say, no, I don't want to participate in this, you know, or whatever. You know, it was never forced, is what I'm saying. When it says a woman was given in marriage, plural marriage, to these men, they weren't forced to go into. They could say, you know, I don't want to do that, and you know, that was something that they made mention. man, I wish I could find that because it really gave as to what Emma was going through.
Yeah, she did like
it.
She
Was
struggled with it.
Oh, and I only look at it as,
but
that would be hard
but
to
for
do.
whatever reason, she told her son Joseph Smith III that your dad never practiced it.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Maybe her knowing that it wasn't practiced anymore, and it didn't matter.
She said he never did
didn't
it.
want him to even try it.
He never did it. And Joseph Smith III was 13 when his dad passed away, or 11.
Yeah.
11.
Okay.
And so for that reason, he heard rumors and went to go see his cousin. And there was still people living who were saying, "Yeah, I married Joseph."
At what age did Joseph go to?
I want to say in their 30s. I don't know that, but it's called the Dueling Cousins. There's a podcast out there, but
okay. So here's a Maria Jane Woodard, who worked in the Smith home, reflects on both Emma's conflicted feelings over plural marriage. It says Maria called a conversation Emma had with her the morning after Emma had a conversation with Maria because Maria had overheard an emotional exchange between Emma and Joseph regarding plural marriage. So they had been probably fussing about it, back in two. And anyway, so Emma, this is what she said. Emma told me to sit down on the bed by her, and we both sat down on the bed that I was making. So the servant was making the bed or whatever. She looked very sad and cast down, and there she said to me, "The principle of plural marriage is right. But I am like other women. I am naturally jealous-hearted and can talk back to Joseph as long as any wife can talk back to her husband. But what I want to say to you is this. You heard me finding fault with the principle. I want to say that the principle is right. It is from our Father in heaven." And then she again spoke of her jealousy. Then she continued, "What I said, I have got to repent of. The principle is right, but I am jealous-hearted. Now, never tell anybody that you heard me find fault with Joseph of that principle. The principle is right, and if I or you or anyone else finds fault with that principle, we have got to humble ourselves and repent of it." I thought that was pretty interesting.
That's powerful.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful.
I mean, that right there is
so it shows that she knew it was right, but that didn't matter.
That right there is literally the spiritual and the temporal coming together and fighting.
And look here, man,
with one another.
I'm not going to write him off. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to. That has to be hard.
And Emma,
I mean, it was to this point that there was others where the prophet would tell them, and they were like, "Oh, this doesn't. I don't know. I don't like this, or I don't think this is right." And so the prophet would tell them, "Go off and pray about it, and you will receive a manifestation that it's true." He wanted them to know for themselves, right? And a lot of them had these only very few recorded, but they had very spiritual, like brother Whitney and his wife. What was his name? Newell K. Whitney. They had to, he was always asking questions anyway. And he was kind of like, "Is this really, and so they had to go off and they prayed together as husband and wife. And they had a really cool manifestation happen with them where they were encircled by light and everything. And they felt like, okay. And so there was, it wasn't like, "Hey, just go gather all these women up and let's tell them we're all married." No, they had to find out for themselves. Joseph wanted them to know for themselves, have a testimony of it. A lot of these women were sealed to him for eternity only, which means there was no relation. Some was for time and eternity. And one of the big reasons the reason why the Lord allowed polygamy was for increase of offspring and to have a greater amount of sons and daughters that could come down and live in a spiritually strong environment to then take that to more. That's why Abraham was blessed with that promise of having numerous seed in his family. And that's why he had plural wives, to have more children. And, it's just one of them things that's really hard to see. And I'll be honest with you, in my heart, I pray that it never happens in my lifetime ever. I don't see why it would. It's already been restored to a point and it was done, and I'm glad it was done then, and it ain't done now, because I wouldn't want anything to do with it. And it would be, you talking about a great weeding out of the church. I mean, that would be tough.
Okay. It's a restitution of things. I always thought that it was revealed right there in Nauvoo, but it was in that Ramos or some
Ramos,
Illinois. So
Ramus or Ramos.
And how cool was it that sealing powers already had that from the Kirtland experience,
right?
And again, it's just line upon line, precept upon precept. Things are just happening. It's kind of speedingly,
right.
So a lot lot of cool revelations, or a lot of instructions for our days coming.
And I'll say this, there's a lot of information that has been put out now by the church. The church does not cover up any of it. Never have covered up anything, but they've just never really put it into light either.
They had a narrative that all of us kind of just knew, and unless you were just some super in depth, took upon yourself to go to bookstore and buy all the books, you didn't.
But now there's
like
in
the Sunday school lesson.
It
wasn't to come follow.
Right. And now it's like it's all out there. Hey, read about it. This and that, and so it was
which is good.
Yeah, it's all come to light.
President Nelson said in his last conference, I believe he invited when he began it was pure. How do you say it? Pure truth.
Pure truth. Yeah, just
there was 3 of them. I guess it didn't impact me too hard. Pure light, pure truth, pure revelation, or something.
Yeah.
And don't just get all your sources off of Facebook. And I believe it was the next day Facebook went down for 12 hours. Y'all remember that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, y'all did.
That was on Monday. I do remember.
It was a big meme out there. It's like President Nelson knew what was happening.
Oh, he just shut it down for a minute.
It was like, you remember Facebook was down?
Well, that was the.
Well, then he boosted it back up with a give thanks. Everybody got on Facebook. Those people had never been on Facebook before started doing hashtag give thanks. So he evened it out.
Yeah.
Y'all got anything?
He controls it. No, I mean, I hate to just leave there's a lot of sources out there. We're not the source for plural marriage. We're not the ones that's going to be the great scholars, but just the things that we know are the things that are out there now. It was a very tough thing for a lot of people, but the principle was there was a righteous thing about it. It's easy for us to get caught up in the whole lustful thing and think, the worldly ways, and when in reality there's nothing like that. There were people. We talked about David. I mentioned David earlier in the Bible. He was given several wives, but then we know the story of him and was it Uriah's wife? Uriah, was that his name? The guy that he sent into battle. Right. His wife, David did that so that he could have him killed and he could basically commit adultery with his wife. And the Lord said that was not wrong. Yeah, that was not right. That was wrong. That was adultery. So
what gives me hope about, it's a restitution of all things.
Right.
So there's a lot of opinions out there about so much with polygamy. And again, I'm not sitting here pretending that I know, because I don't. Yeah. I love to hear accounts from different sources. When you hear it from one source, you hear it from another, and basically we knew it was just for a period of time, and then it stopped. So that's
it's kind of like the sacrifice of animals. That's a thing that was done forever and ever and ever.
Then Moses was fulfilled,
and then it stopped. And they, so that
but will be restored.
It says it will be restored again. So I don't want to put that out there as a disclaimer. Everybody's thinking, oh great, plural marriage is coming back.
No, that's already been restored.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
plural
yeah.
Marriage, so.
Yeah. True. I mean, I guess you could look at it that way. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I see what you're saying now. Yeah. Okay. So you put it in that context. Yeah. I don't want to get anybody scared out there like we're saying plural marriage is coming back.
No.
Because honestly, we don't know. The Lord can do what he wants. I mean, if the Lord says, I need plural marriage to be back, maybe it's just a test and give us an Abrahamic test. Right. I don't know.
Well, like with the animal sacrifice. What Section 2, Doctrine and Covenants.
Yeah.
Until the sons of Levi do come in and offer a sacrifice
again.
That's right.
So anyway, all things are to be restored, and that when we talk about restoration of all things to be restored, at least to some degree for some amount of time. And so polygamy was restored for an amount of time. And
there we go.
Honestly, and these are my words, hopefully that was it.
That's right.
That's just me. And I say, I'm very just, impressed. And I guess, in all of the faithfulness of the saints being able to do that and hang in there and it would have been and make it work. I mean,
easier to restore it then versus like now or later on. For sure.
And they made it work, and they lived in harmony and love. And another thing is that everybody will be offered, we'll all have a chance to marry for eternity. There's people now that long to be married on the earth. They will get a chance. Because they long for that and they want that and they're trying their hardest, and maybe it just doesn't happen in this life, or maybe you don't live long enough to do it or whatever. You'll be able to marry, all blessings can be given you as you're worthy and longing for those blessings. It'll happen. You know, when we talk about the new and everlasting covenant, which by the way, there's well, anyway, the new and everlasting covenant, which is eternal marriage. Basically, we have to abide in that covenant. It's not just given us. We have to then work at it and live together as husband and wife and work out differences and work out, you know, we're living together and how, because it can be tough. It can be tough. So,
all right, well, there you go. Episode 96 in the books. Until next time, y'all keep on striving.